Hi, y'all. It's Bridget Cutshall with Real Things Living. Today, my guest is Matt Tanner, and Matt lives in the Atlanta area like me. Matt is the founder of Same Page HR, and Matt and I met about 5 years ago through Alt MBA. Can you introduce yourself, Matt?
Hey there, everybody. Like Bridget said, my name is Matt. I am the founder of Same Page HR, which is a HR consulting firm, which is more exciting than it sounds. I promise. And I guess we're going to talk about that a little bit. But yeah, I'm a weirdo that loves HR.
That's good. I mean, that's people need advice like that because everything's changing constantly. And I thought your knowledge about HR would be helpful for people because I try not to read the news too much, or I don't watch the news, but reading it can
Yeah,
still be stressing me out sometimes just because it's so much info and people don't know what to do if they do lose their jobs. And I thought you would give some good advice. And I
yeah.
think you've been in HR for, I don't know how many years have you been in HR?
If you consider, I think a lot of the different jobs I've done and have involved things like people operations. So about 15 years. I mean, in
Wow.
varying ways. But and I'm sure we'll get into some of that. But I also like to look at things from the other side of the individual, like and so I also do some career coaching. So I'm sure we'll get into to some
Yeah,
of that.
that
So not just HR from the company side.
right. It is about how to deal with people, and it's just different because there's so many opportunities out there. People don't know how to reach it, and I'm sure you guys, or I think you and I met a couple years ago. I didn't know what to do
Mm-hmm.
because I had been laid off from a job 6 years ago, I think,
Uh-huh.
and and I didn't like, what do I do? So I was trying to apply for jobs. And then that's when I got cancer again. Like, what the hell do I do now?
Yeah.
And I had clients like, we know you, we trust you, do your own thing. And that's what I got started doing that. But then you still question yourself, right? And it helps to have someone like you to point out what is good and bad. And I think I showed you my resume. You basically said it's just, that's not where it really gets you a job, right?
Right. I think I probably said a resume's it's not the thing that gets you the job. I think a lot of us focus on that. And to go back to what you said about doubting yourself, I mean, I have, like most of us, huge bouts with this imposter syndrome. So often when I'm talking to somebody about their career and they're saying, "Oh, I don't think, how do you, I don't think I can do this," or "I don't think I should go for this." Like I have those same feelings, and so just naming that and talking about it is usually the most helpful. I think a lot of times I'll write something and put it on Medium, and I'll get these emails like, "Oh, how do you have it all figured out?" And I just respond with, "I don't have anything figured out." Um, I think people like hearing that. It's comforting. There's a lot of fake experts out there, so
Right.
I
That's
even hate,
true.
yeah.
Well, I
Um,
think, yeah, what you do is being really authentic. You're being like, I'm not, but you're putting it out there, which is what we kind of learn in all MBA, right?
right.
To try to get over that fear. And I had not only imposter syndrome, but I also was a perfectionist.
Yeah.
What stops you sometimes, use as an excuse. It's not perfect, so I can't do it. And that's why I thought we all have to adapt constantly. And then COVID just put this on speed mode.
Yeah.
Is that the right word?
Yeah, for sure. I think everyone that I talk to, both businesses and individuals, a lot of the normal playbook is kind of out the window. And one of the things that I've realized, I always had an interest in starting my own thing. And I don't think this podcast will be a conversation about you should definitely go start your own thing,
Right.
because I'm not even sure if I should be doing this. But for years, I was very scared of trying to go out on my own. And then when I got laid off during COVID, it dawned on me that it's just as scary sitting in an office waiting for something to happen in a company to lay you off. So this is just a different kind of fear. Now my fear is, will I have enough clients to make this an actual business?
Right.
That's obviously scary, but I've got friends and colleagues that are sitting in uh, working from home at these companies that they don't know when they'll get, if they'll get laid off. And so it's just a different kind of fear um, that you're kind of trading when you go out
That's
on your own.
true. And we're always going to experience it. It's just in a different perspective, right?
For sure. For
That's
sure.
kind of
And it's
what
just
it is.
a matter of which kind of fear are you more comfortable with?
Right. And like you, I thought about doing my own thing, but I never did but then I had to get laid off and then cancer wasn't fun again, but it was like, my time, made me think my time is limited. I
Yeah.
mean, it was a reminder. Is that the right thing?
Yeah.
To do something. We talk about, not me, but you hear about do things that you love, be happy, blah, blah, blah. But you still need to have, I should say, a purpose with what you're doing in a way. And
Yeah.
you were helping others. So I guess you have a lot of connections. And so that's kind of what's helping you get over that. And so you have I'm just trying to understand working with individuals. You said you do coaching and then you do work with clients or businesses.
Mostly with clients. I have written in the past about, I find career growth and this challenge of figuring out what we want to do with our life. It's almost like it's a fun problem to solve for me. And I like talking about that with friends and family and colleagues. And for a bit there, I thought maybe I want to do this. I'll go be a career coach and help people. And I realized that it's kind of like when you're really good at baking cookies and everyone tells you to go open a bakery and you realize you don't actually like running a bakery, you just like baking cookies. I realized that I just enjoyed going and grabbing coffee with people and working on their resumes. But when I tried to turn that into a business, I didn't enjoy it as much. It became a burden, something I was just dreading logging into Zooms for these one-on-one calls with people that were paying me to help them.
Right.
Or meeting folks all over town to do this. I realized it wasn't as fun when that became a business. And so I still write some and put the blog out there, and I love talking about that stuff with individuals, but it's not the path that I wanted to go down. But working with businesses to do their HR department or work on their HR or people processes, that is something that I have enjoyed. I have enjoyed building that business. So I'm not sure what the difference is, but that's something I discovered.
It's probably more in a business to business environment rather than the other way is business to consumer, which
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel you in that regard. I did the health coaching
Hmm.
certification because I wanted to do that in between some health issues, and it helped me heal. And so I did do some health coaching. I was like you, oh, this stressed me out
Right.
one-on-one, but when I'm in a group, I'm more comfortable, right?
Sure. And it may just be more of my imposter syndrome popping up. Like
Right.
I'm not sure. Maybe I'm more comfortable when people aren't paying me for the advice. I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, for instance, I've written this one article. I think the headline was, "Yes, you can quit your job without a plan," which I'll admit is a little bit of a clickbait title. But what I meant by that, and if you actually read the article, I lay out some examples of here's some reasons that you should just quit, even if you don't have a plan. And it was this toxic work environment, or if it was impacting your health, like where you were actually uh, getting so stressed that it was affecting your health. Like just laid out some reasons that if you've and I said if you've got savings or if you're comfortable with risk and you want to take 6 months to clear your head and figure it out, don't take that long, but you can
Right.
quit your job. And it was really this. If you really read the article closely, I was not advocating to just quit your job no matter what. But I still get to this day about an email a week from someone that has read it and quit their job. And every time I get it, my heart starts palpitating because
You
I'm
want to be
just like,
responsible.
I feel responsible. And that was just a free resource. And so I just sometimes think like, who am I to give you advice on this? And then the fact that people then go and follow that advice, it's a flattering thing, but it's also kind of scary. And so still wrestling with that and coming to grips with that.
And I think that's why people connect with you, because you are just being so upfront. And I think we need more of that. But I do understand trying to have a clickbait title to pull people in a little bit. But it is important. And I feel better when I'm out advocating, like for the American Cancer Society, going to meet with our legislators. I was more comfortable with that, trying to help in that regard. Than
Yeah.
because I don't know, rather, and that's why I do a lot of content. It was my sons that started to convince me to share my info. I'm like, oh God. But it got people more engaged with me. And then maybe that's why I feel bad trying to charge you for this information. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
it
And
does. And I've learned similarly. I've had some friends and family that wanted me to help them with something, and I kind of started by charging them and giving them like a family discount, and I just realized you can't have it both ways. Like I wasn't paying, I didn't give that stuff the attention it deserved. Um, it just once it became a transaction, it just lost all the kind of feeling for me.
right. That's what we have a lot in common.
Yeah,
And the when we did the alt MBA, I don't know if some people don't know about it. We were like the beta group, the group
yeah.
one. And we were joking when we were talking the other day that, we don't know if there really was a true process for vetting us to get in.
Yeah, it was one of the first. I remember getting the subscribed to Seth Godin's blog and got the email that this program was being built, and they were going to take, I think they said 100, 120, whatever the first class, the pioneer
Right.
class that they called us. They were going to cap it at 100, and I think at that time it cost $3,000, maybe.
Correct. It was 3 grand.
I think it's gone up a little bit, but I applied the next day and was just thinking like, oh, I mean, I don't know how many thousands of people read this blog. Like, I don't have a shot at getting into this thing. And then got the email that, I was in, and that it was so easy, not easy, so fast. And I was like, wow, I wonder if just like 90 people applied, and that's why I'm in. So
Right. They
there
took
again,
the first
it's
90 or whatever. Right. I found it to be very helpful because it was a year after my getting laid off and the cancer treatment and starting my own business. It helped me focus a little bit better. Right.
oh yeah,
My husband knows I get a lot more energy when I'm around other people.
hmm
And I certainly like these projects that we all worked on, and they were random, had nothing to do with our background, but
yeah.
the point was how we can work together from different perspectives, come up with solutions.
Yeah, it was the first time that I really. This was 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, and
Right.
we were in Zoom. I was in Zoom meetings with my team, and two team members were in Australia, and one was in Washington. It was the first time that I realized, it dawned on me that, oh, you can do this remote stuff. The technology was just getting there, and it actually was pretty seamless. But I think the biggest thing I learned from Alt MBA, it was a 30-day sprint, and we had these crazy projects that were due at midnight every 2 days, and
Right.
our spouses thought we were crazy because we're going to work all day and then hopping on Zoom and doing this work till midnight. It taught me that I can sprint and do work in those short bursts and kind of go into this mode that I can't do forever. Maybe some people can, but
Right. It's the long term.
I stretch myself and then learn that I can then tap into that when I need to later. So I found the for an optional thing, like you're not getting a grade, you don't have to do the work. I was amazed at how the social pressure perhaps
Right.
compelled me to get the assignments done and actually commit to that thing for 30 days in a way that I hadn't committed to a lot of stuff before. So I've taken that with me. I don't remember the individual lessons, and I don't remember everything from all the books we read, but I remember that one thing that, oh, I can really dig deep for short periods of time.
Right. I think I remember they emphasize ship it.
Yeah,
Like it doesn't have
just
to be
ship.
perfect. And that's kind of what helped me. You don't have to be perfect to put it out there because that's what, we always have to tweak and it's okay. And I just think it was a great, I'm glad I did it too. I did tell my husband, oh, by the way, this is like 3 grand. You okay? He's like, yeah, okay. But I did it. And I think that was part of it, the cost.
Yeah, I think you're
Right.
committed. For sure. I think
I,
that, and I think Seth Godin even says this somewhere. If you're paying for it, you're going to commit to it.
Correct.
I mean, the same thing happened to me. I went to undergrad right out of high school and had the Hope Scholarship, and my parents were paying for my room and board. And I mean, I just floated through school and didn't get very good grades. Was pretty embarrassed, honestly, with the amount of effort that I put in. I was just immature and got through it, got a degree. But then when I went back to grad school and I was paying for it, I mean, I just took it much more seriously, got much better, and got much better grades. And so it's a lesson that I've taken away. I don't know how I'll be able to do that with my own children, but paying your own way or having some, skin in the game is hugely important.
That's true. My oldest just graduated from college. He was like you. He had hope stuff, and he was just messing around. So he finally got through. It took him longer than 4 years, but the last couple of years, I told him you need to feel it a little bit. So I made him pay some of it. So he's like,
Yeah.
okay. So that helped him focus a little bit better. He
Yeah.
knew because he's one of those guys that's probably like you. Things came easy for him.
I'm not saying that things come easy for
Well,
me.
easy for my son, it was, yeah.
I think the challenge I have is, I mean, people see like, oh, you've got books organized by color, and I'm very organized, but that's only because I'm inherently lazy. Like I put systems around me,
Okay.
and I think I have this projection of like, wow, he's very organized and knocking stuff out and achieving things. But if I had my way, I would just be on the couch watching Netflix. So I have to put those things
I love
around
it.
me. I'm not saying it's an act, but I'm just saying that if I don't have that stuff, I can break down very easily, and I'll just lay around for a week.
Like for me, I've learned that deadlines help me. Having I've learned I was very well, MBA, I learned I was very detailed. I knew I was, but it became like, oh wow, I am more detailed and very strategic than I realized, right?
Yeah.
Because some of it over the years, you're trying to do work and have different roles, but I that's what I learned from it, and it was something that I'm so glad I got involved in, and I realized I need to be around other people, and I think that's what this working from home stuff is hard for people. Even though I've been doing it for 20 years, I had to travel and visit clients, and now you can't do that. I mean, my clients aren't even in their office; they're
Right.
working. That's hard for them too.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, right. And so everybody's still trying to figure it out. I can just feel the fear out there, and I mean, you know what I'm saying? You could just pick up on it. And
Yeah. This is not the best way for us humans to interact. I mean, I think the technology is great and it's helpful for some stuff, but to the people that say this is how we're going to do it forever, I just disagree.
right,
Wholeheartedly.
it's going to affect the children more, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
And uh, my kids are adults now, so I'm thankful for that in a way. But then the downside is they're graduating and being in an environment where 2020 and everybody I mean, that's what they're reading. That
Yeah, that's the thing is, I was just chatting with, it's what they're reading. I mean, I was chatting with somebody that's graduating, and they were complaining about like, oh, they'd read something like millennials are getting this double whammy of recessions, and it just comes down to the narrative that what do you want to tell yourself?
right,
I mean, I starting this HR company, as I'm talking to clients, yeah, there's a lot of pain out there, and it's not great, but there's a lot that are growing, and so there's just tons of opportunity, and you can choose to
right.
you can choose to go for that, or you can choose to read the headline and go mope at a coffee shop because you're and I'm not saying your kids are doing this, but just because you're graduating into this thing that's not great, there's going
Well,
to be people that capitalize.
my son actually got a good training, so
Yeah.
he's going to be going to Florida for some training to be in the medical device area, and that's
That's great.
because he knew somebody who he went through a very rigorous
Mm-hmm.
interview process. It was brutal. It made him nervous. I could just, but you know how that's it.
Yeah.
So that to me, if you're going to get in healthcare, that's a good thing. He's got a biology degree, and like my husband's in tech, he's
Mm-hmm.
drowning in work.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think the other thing that you're going to see is like for me, I've been terrified to start my own thing for years, and then now in this environment, I'm like, why not? So I think people
Right.
are going to be graduating and just trying things that they were maybe afraid to do. I think there's going to be some interesting career pivots where people are like, all right, I've always dreamed of going into this field. I'm going to try it. And so I just think that is the one positive or a positive of this pandemic, this crazy year we're having, is people are just open to trying stuff that they never would have tried, and
I,
I think that's kind
that
of
is a
cool.
really good point. It is an opportunity to just look at it from that perspective, to try to do your own, if you can do it right. We're lucky. I'm lucky that I was able to do that, but I always wanted to be CEO of a company, and I am now, right? But it's
Right.
small. Who cares?
Right. I mean, and I think that a lot of times people focus on being their own boss as the one true path to happiness. But I even mean like maybe you've been in banking your whole life and you want to go, get into the retail or food or go be a veterinarian, whatever. Like I think people are just going to start doing things that they've always thought about doing, but were afraid to kind of get out of their comfort zone. Or you've been an attorney and you want to go work at a nonprofit, whatever it is. I'm seeing more and more of that. People are like just throwing their hands up, like I'm going to try something. It's a crazy year. Why not?
I think, don't you, well, if you're doing something different, you should somehow utilize a good skill that you have. Is that, you know what I'm trying to,
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, you have, there's the diagram. It's like a Venn diagram,
right.
which is a hard thing not the best thing to explain on a podcast, but it's, I'll probably get this wrong, but it's like, what are you good at? What do you want to do? And what does the world need? And if you're right in the center of those three things. And so a lot of times it's just because you want to do it, um, you still have to be good at it for it to really be fulfilling. I mean, I'd love to, play professional basketball, but I'm not. That's not gonna happen for me. So I have to change It can't just be completely out of left field. It has to be grounded in some sort of reality, for sure. But I think that people are just going to widen their lens. Often that's not the thing holding people back. It's just they're worried about the money or
Right.
what other people will think. And so I think that is kind of going out the window. You still have to know how to do the thing, um, to
Right.
make
I've
it work.
learned over the years, I got, I was a college student, I got a part-time job, and I've always liked books, but somehow I got into it part-time trying to
Mhm.
deliver faxes. That's back when faxes were, were new. That's how old I am. It was a big deal. You had to personally handle or deliver them because it's only sent to the executives.
Oh, right.
Right. People don't realize that. So I would sneak and read them. But but I didn't tell anybody because it's usually pretty serious if it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
fax back then. So I kind of grew and and I learned that I had really good people skills, and that's why they always end up having me customer facing kind of stuff. And there's just a lot of different ways I've changed, but I've always because in deep in my heart, because I like writing and all that stuff, I think that's what helped me
Mhm.
to grow. And even though I was told many times, you're a girl, you're too nice. Um, so that just motivated me even more.
Even
But
more, yeah. That's
so
great.
that's what I'm saying about knowing something. Like if you don't like writing, you're not going to be good doing the industry that I was in, kind of in a way. It's
Yeah.
kind of what I knew.
And sometimes we uh, trick ourselves in what we think we like doing, or or it becomes, once it's a job, it just becomes different. I mean, I have always enjoyed writing, and right after graduating college, I went and worked for a newspaper because my dream was,
Right.
I was going to go be a reporter. And
Right.
I'd read like the sports page with my dad at the breakfast table when I was 7, and that's all I wanted to do, was go be like a
That's
sports journalist.
awesome.
And I graduated and got this job at a very small daily paper, and realized that I actually didn't. I mean, I'm glad I did it. I really enjoyed the time, but I didn't want to make it like a career of just running around interviewing people. I mean, I'd like to say I was smart enough to see the collapse of print media, but I wasn't that
Yes.
smart. I just I couldn't cut it, but I didn't love it. Um, I, I didn't love working on deadline to write articles. I wanted to write on my own time.
Yeah,
So
that's a lot of pressure on you, right?
yeah, it was a good thing to learn how to do, but it just took the joy out of writing. And I still need to give myself some self-imposed deadlines, but I kind of saw the landscape of, wow, this is a writing career. And you could just say I didn't hack it, which is partly true, but you have to work your way up and write for in that time if you want to make your way into newspapers. So
Right now
I realized really quickly I don't want to do this anymore.
right, and I got into production aspect of
Mhm.
books, so I'm helping people with rather than doing the actual writing. You know, saying I help, and that's when I learned that I really like this. You know,
Yeah.
because I love books, and one of my customers made fun of me when he first met me. I was sniffing the book. It's just I wanted to touch it, and
Yeah. That's
he
cool.
was recommended to me because his book was falling apart. Well, then I
Mhm.
like, well, who did you use? Like kind of asking these questions, and but it's changing constantly. That technology has changed, everything, and it's just like I started this podcast because I was a guest on other podcasts promoting my second book in a way. I'm like, I really like this.
Yeah.
And it's because I am, like I mentioned earlier, I like connecting with everybody else. And, but that's kind of a thing now. Podcasting has become popular.
Yeah, it's a great way for you. I mean, at a minimum, you get to chat with people. So, I mean, if you're going to chat with
At
them
a
anyway,
minimum, and
might
I
as well
learn
record it.
about each, and we can help somebody else. And we got off on a tangent here, but what exactly is why did you call your company Same Page? And you had I'm sure there's a reason behind that, Same Page HR.
Yeah. Well, uh, I love reading about kind of like a weird hobby that I have is like thinking up business names. Like I just like I have random URLs that I've bought, and like I just enjoy that process of thinking through how people name businesses. And I actually have realized, I have discovered that that's like there are like businesses, that's all they do is they're just like they name products or businesses. And I think that's
Uh-huh.
really cool. I don't actually have that much skill in the area. I just find it interesting. And so I racked my brain forever. I realized I don't really need a business name. I just need to go help people.
Right.
It's definitely an example of one of those things that I wanted to have like the website perfect. I wanted to have a name and a logo. And I realized I was just hiding out from doing the real work. I needed to just go talk to clients and start doing the work. But through in that process, I just kind of had a random brainstorm going, and I realized that all the clients I was talking to, like what I'm really doing is getting folks on the same page. Like
That's
they're
good.
between their leadership team and their employees, or owners and employees, or even within the same leadership team or a group of people. So I just thought it sounded like
It
this
sounds
is what we're
good.
doing here. But the irony is every time or not irony, the funny thing is on a lot of client calls, or we'll be meeting, we'll be talking through the problem, and someone will inevitably say like, let's get on the same page. And I laugh every time. So maybe that's validation that it was a good name.
Right. It is
But that's
has
what
a
I
little,
that's what I came up with. And I was just gonna try to get samepage.com, and that was like $10,000, and
oh
samepagehr.com was a little less. So we went
yeah,
with
I
that.
bet. Yeah, that's another thing. There's so many URLs out there. You're gonna have to be creative probably when
Yeah,
you
and
do
it doesn't really matter. When's the last time you
no,
type
it
typed a
doesn't. I don't look
URL?
right.
Yeah,
I don't really look at a lot of web pages. It's just for me, it's about the human connection. And but some people want to have a platform for you to look at if they don't know you. Like when I came up with my name, I just made it up.
yeah,
And yeah, that sounds good. I'm a Gemini. Yeah, all right. And I'm in the print media business. That's kind of how it happened.
yeah.
And I've never changed it because there's no, I don't care. I mean,
If it's not a thing to really stress about too much. It's one of those things
no,
we,
some people do, right? They stress about it and I just like whatever. I mean, I shouldn't say that, but I've been through a lot of crap. So you just kind of learn what to worry about.
yeah.
And
It's just that's not the most important thing. The
no,
work
it's not.
the work is the most important thing.
But I do like the name though. It's just very,
Thanks.
it just resonates because same, okay, let's all be together. You're going to have to go through a process, I'm sure, to get on a client, to
Hmm.
help a client out, meaning a business, not it's business to business.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean
And
it almost always boils down to some sort of people issues, and that can be the structure, the processes, but really any growing business, like it's people that make businesses, so that's usually the problem. If um,
it sounds like you also get involved with like change management. Is that the right word?
yeah, I think change management is in any at the root of almost any people issue, really.
Yeah.
The Kurt Lewin's change model is like, let's go. I think it's Kurt Lewin is when people aren't afraid of change, they're just afraid of like what they're losing. So state that up front. Like if something is going to be identify that and be clear about it. Like, hey, we're going through this change. Here's what it means for you. You're going to lose this. You're going to gain this. And so just transparency is the key there. But almost any time you're digging into like an HR or personnel issue, it's change management.
Right. That's kind of what I was thinking. And it's so many aspects are involved with that. You've got the individual, you've got the culture, you've got expectations from everybody. And I'm sure that's a tough, what you're doing. You've got to be really good with people. Uh,
Try to be. I don't know. More. I think it's just transparency and follow through. Like do what you say you're going to do.
mhm.
Um, be transparent about it, and then really put processes and systems in place that allow people to do their best work. So sometimes it's, people want to do their best work, but the system isn't conducive to that. So you kind of got to look at it that way and see what's the real issue here. And
Right, get to the
more
bottom
often
of
than not,
the root problem, right, and
yeah,
I think it also helps what you do is help set expectations.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you can't just come into an organization and say, "Oh, we'll fix everything. It's going to be great." So I think that again comes back to transparency.
Right?
You say, "Here's what we can do. Here's what we can't do," and do you want to try it?
That's good. That's a, so you I have to ask this too, are they hiring you on a per project basis or on a advisory kind of thing, or
It just depends. It depends on the client or how much work they need.
gotcha.
So for some, we're coming in and we're being their entire HR department. Others have
Oh, that's cool.
smaller projects, and so just depends on the need and how much help they need. And I subscribe to, it's the Patrick Lencioni model of consulting, and that I just like talking with companies that have challenges or need help, and just hearing about it, and then just you kind of start helping on the first call, and if that's kind of the fun part, and then at some point they'll uh, they'll want to pay you, and there may be a few clients that just take free calls and don't actually ever
Yeah,
pay you, but it's pretty
right.
rare, and so you just kind of jump into the work and see what happens.
Those calls up front are you're building the trust, and right there, it's just that's really what it is. It's
Yeah.
one question I have is, what advice would you give somebody just because you went through this during COVID if they get laid off? What's the you know
The best advice that I got when I got laid off during COVID, I was scrambling. I immediately went into let's solve this mode. My default mode is let's solve the problem. And so I had Trello board with all these different companies I wanted to apply to. I was polishing up my resume. I was also creating an LLC to start a business on the side just to see which was the better path. Like, do I want to get a job? So I was interviewing. I was trying to build a business. I just was throwing things against the wall, hoping one thing would stick. I would either get an interview or I would get a client to do my own work. And I was just spending 12 hours a day because I was panicking. I was like, how am I going to feed my family? Like,
right,
I was all over the place. And I was also doing tons and tons of just 30-minute connection calls with people that folks were recommending. And I talked to someone that's become a bit of a mentor, and he said, the best thing you can do right now is just take a few days and just don't do any of this. Go watch your favorite movie. Um, this is the only time in your life. I just turned 40. This is the only time in your life you're going to just have these wide open days at home with your kids where you don't have any work. He's like, I understand there's no money coming in and you're freaking out, but just relax. Take 3-4 days and don't worry about any of this. You're just operating from a place of fear, and kind of get your head right. And so I took that advice, just closed the computer, hung out with the family for a few days, watched movies, which I never do, like on a Tuesday night. Like we can't leave our house, but we can stay up late on a random Tuesday and watch a movie. So I just took deep breath and a pause, and that kind of cleared my head. And coming out of that, I realized, you know what, I don't want to actually interview right now. I just gone through that process to get a new job, and so I shut all that down. And so I guess my advice for anybody that's going through a layoff during COVID is just take a deep breath, pause for a minute, and don't be so hard on yourself. This is a
right. It's not your fault.
it's a tough year. So you're not. I talk with folks that are frustrated because they can't find the perfect job or the same level of job that they had. I mean, there's just millions of us in this
Right.
boat. So
I
cut
think
yourself
that's
some
I
slack.
had the same thing a couple years ago when I was talking to you. Like, am I doing the right thing? I should be, and that's because that's how the environment I grew up in. You have to be this, this, and this after this so many years, kind of thing, which is not.
It
That's not
it is a fine line between don't feel sorry for yourself and don't be too hard on yourself. Like I think the misinterpretation of that advice. So my advice is don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself a break.
right.
But if the misinterpretation of that is like, oh, this isn't my fault. All this stuff out of my control. I'm just going to sit at home and mope about it. So I think folks that have a high locus of internal control, folks that think they're in control of their life, will do much better through this whole pandemic than folks that just think the world happens to them and they're just going to you know sit and mope. I'm not saying do that, but I'm saying cut yourself a little slack.
Right. It's I've learned that too. I just make being able to be independent like this allows me to be more flexible.
Hmm.
That's just that was I learned it was important to me because I had to travel like hell. I mean, it was insane. Am I raising my kid? It was, and that probably contributed to my health. To be
Yeah.
serious, I
Well,
mean,
it's just we tell ourselves these stories that no one else is really saying or telling because
right?
about us. Like I think a helpful reminder is like most of the world doesn't actually care what you're doing, so don't get so stressed about it. I meet a lot of folks that think they're only going to be happy if they start their own business, so they're their own boss. And I ask them why, and they say, well, I mean, I have this job and I have to report to my boss. But when you really dig into it, they're making like a great salary. They actually like their coworkers. They actually enjoy their commute because they listen to podcasts, so they get a
Uh-huh.
little moment of zen or whatever. And so when you really dig in, the only reason they don't like going to a job is because someone along the line has told them this narrative of like you can't be happy unless you do your own thing. So I'm not saying
Right.
if you want to do your own thing, do it. But if you want to go work, uh,
Right. Some people want to have that. Some people want to have that secure. They think it's more secure. So it's your mindset. And I'm so glad that I have the clients who trust. Because of the years, they trusted me, and
yeah,
they were very helpful. And because, like you, I was being very open about what was going on, and I think a lot of people need more of that.
yeah. I
And
think the best piece of career advice I've read in a long time. I was reading John Acup's book, and I think it's called Do Over about careers. And the very first chapter is a little bit of a preamble type prologue, and it says the first thing you should do is just he doesn't call it change your expectations, not lower your expectations, but
right,
just
change them. Right,
not only don't be so hard on yourself, but like don't be so hard on this career thing. Like what are you expecting like every day to be unicorns and rainbows? So a lot of times we make ourselves miserable. um, start looking into the things that are maybe you're going to an office that has like all this great free coffee and a secure job, and you're still you enjoy your coworkers and you like the work you're doing, but you're making yourself miserable because you've told yourself some story that you can't be happy at a 9 to 5
right.
job. And so just I think we expect sometimes more fulfillment from our work than we really do. And so kind of resetting those expectations is the quickest, most simplest, free way to find more career satisfaction.
That's cool. Yeah, it's some really good advice, and I'm just so happy that you took the time out today with your. You do have a busy schedule because you're starting to.
I know. I think I was 10 minutes late to this.
It's
Sorry, because
okay.
I
It's
had to
all
push
right.
our time back.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm flexible. It's all good. So can you tell us where people can find you if they want to reach out to you?
Yeah, sure. So our firm is samepagehr.com. All my contact info is on there, but it's also just Matt at samepagehr.com to shoot me an email. But check us out, and I'd love to help anybody out there that could use help with their people processes.
I think that's so awesome what you're doing. I think it's great.
Thank you. It's been
Thanks
fun.
again. Thanks again, Matt. All right. Bye, guys.
Enjoyed it. Thanks, Bridget.
Have a good day.
See ya.